Brisket prices are out of control, but you don't have to miss out on that deep beef flavor, thick, juicy slices, and Texas-style bark. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn a chuck roast into a poor man's brisket that tastes just as good at a fraction of the cost. If you're wanting to learn brisket techniques like low and slow cooking, building Central Texas bark, wrapping in butcher paper, then this is the perfect beginner-friendly cook for you. Chuck roast is affordable, it's forgiving, and absolutely slaps when you treat it the right way. So whether you're cooking on a Weber Kettle, an offset, a gas grill, a pellet grill, it doesn't even matter. This method works every single time. So let's get into it. All right, folks. So here we've got our chuck roast here, and beautiful looking chuck roast here I got from my Costco. And what I look for when I'm trying to do this, basically make our chuck roast like a brisket, is I want to have plenty of fat here, inside that the meat here, plenty of fat striations throughout. And that's what I kind of look for because, obviously fat's going to equal flavor and it's going to help it become a really moist chuck roast and hopefully tender chuck roast when we get to the end process. But so here we have our chuck roast and we're going to go ahead and get it seasoned up. Now I'm going to go old school here and use a binder, and I'm going to be using that yellow mustard. Guys, again, it's subjective. Use what you want. If you don't want to use a binder, then don't use one. But we're going to use yellow mustard because you know what? That's how I learned when I first started doing barbecue. And so for people that are just starting, it's a good starting point to put a little bit of mustard on. Now, you don't want a lot. You just want to put enough on here so that you get a little surface area there that's going to hold on to your rubs when you put it on. All right, so we've got our binder onto our chuck roast. And again, you're not going to taste this mustard by the time it's all said and done. So don't even worry about it. Now, first up, we're going to get our 16 mesh black pepper on, and we're just going to go really liberally with our black pepper because this is going to be the foundation of our bark. So we're going to get this thing all seasoned up with our with our black pepper. And the reason I'm putting it on first is again because the granules of pepper are going to be bigger than our granules of salt. And so what happens is if you put your salt on first, then you know what? Your pepper might have a hard time finding a little surface area to stick to. So we're going to get these on, get this pepper on first, and then we're going to come back with our salt. Now I'm using my kosher salt. This is that diamond crystal kosher salt. I know it looks like a lot of salt, but trust me, guys, this is not as salty as you think it's going to be. And a lot of this is going to kind of cook off and fall off when it's on the grill. So I go just a little bit heavier when I'm first putting it on here. And I promise you, it's not going to be as salty as you guys think it's going to be. It's kind of like when you're watching, Food Network and you see these guys putting a ton of salt on stuff and then it doesn't really taste salty, but they're using diamond crystal. They're not using regular kosher salt. So that's one key. All right. So we've got our salt and we've got our pepper on here. Next up, we're going to get some seasoned salt on here. And this is that Lawry's. And so I'm going to put a little, dusting of Lawry seasoning salt on here, and it just adds another dimension of great flavor to our chuck roast or brisket when you're doing your brisket. So there you go. All right, so we got this side all seasoned up. We're going to flip this guy over, and we're going to do the same thing on the back side, getting our pepper on, our kosher salt, and our Lawry seasoning salt. All right, so now that we got our chuck roast all seasoned up like we would do brisket, it's time to get it on a grill. And today we're going to be using our Stealth Weber Kettle once again. And you guys already know the setup. We're going to be using harder charcoal, using the harder charcoal fire starter to start it up. And I know you guys have seen it many times, how we set it up in our slow and sear. We're adding water into our water trough today simply because we want to make sure we have a good humidified cooking environment and control our temperatures. Because again, we're cooking this like a brisket. This is not a hot and fast cook today. All right, so we got it set up. We're using post oak wood chunks as usual. But the caveat today is we're going to be using our Spider Grill's Venom today. Now, I'm going to put a video into the description box below so you can go check out how to set up the Venom if you decide you want to use it, and how to use the thing with the kettle and all that. But we're going to get this chuck roast on the grill, so let's go. All right, so chuck roast is going on here. And again, we are using our Spider Grill's Venom. So we've got our temperature probe in here that's going to be monitoring our pit temperatures. And the fan below is going to be controlling the airflow to our coals. And so, yeah, this is going to be a fairly automated cook. But anyway, chuck roast is on. We're going to be starting this off at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. And right now, we're just going to let it develop its bark and get its color. And I'll bring you guys back in a while. All right, folks. Now we got our chuck roast onto our Weber kettle here. And you're probably wondering, okay, now that I got this all seasoned up, rubbed up, whatever, it's on the grill. What do I do now? We're just going to let it go. We're maintaining our temperatures here. We got it set up running at 225. It's probably going to float up to 250 or so, 225, 250, somewhere around in there. But we're just going to let it go. The key to the game right now is we're developing our bark. We don't want to do anything with this as far as putting any, spritz on it or a mop on it or anything like that until our bark is set. That means that our rub is going to be adhered to our meat. It's not going to rub off when you rub your finger on it. And it's just going to be a nice, tasty bark for you. So we're going to leave it alone. We're probably not even going to look at this chuck roast for another, I don't know, 4 hours or so. But whenever I get to the point that I'm going to, take a look at this chuck roast, I'll bring you back then. But right now, resist the urge to open the kettle and look at it. Just leave it alone and maintain your temperature. And that's all we got to do. We're going to get through this cook together. All right. Bring you back in a bit. All right, so we just hit the 3-hour mark here, and we're going to take a look. All right, so as you can see, we're still looking pretty good. We got plenty of juices here pooling, so I am going to kind of tip that over just to kind of get that off. If you have juice on top of your meat, that's probably going to prevent your bark from forming there. So that's why we went ahead and got that off of there. But we're looking really good here. Again, I was going to do 4 hours. I decided to do 3 hours. And hey, that's the beauty of cooking. You can always, decide what you want to do on the fly. But we're looking pretty good here. And we're going to get the lid put back on. And we're going to keep this rolling. And I'll bring you guys back in a bit. Okay, now as you just saw, we just hit our 3-hour mark and did a checkpoint here just to look at our chuck roast, our poor man's brisket, to see how it's coming along. And it's coming along fine. Again, you don't want any juices pooling on the top of it, so we got it dumped over just to get it free of the juices so we can continue to form that bark. Now, what I want to do now is I'm going to actually increase my temperature. We're rolling at 225 degrees, and I'm now going to bump up to 250 degrees. The lower on the front end of the cook you go, the more you get a little bit more smoke involved. And I think we've done that in these first 3 hours. So I'm going to kick up my temperature again, 250 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll let it go for a couple of hours or whatever, and I'll bring you back whenever we check it again. All right, so we just hit the 4.5-hour mark, and here's what we are looking like right now. Everything is looking pretty good there. The bark has formed here, so I think we are looking good. It is looking pretty moist, but I still want to spritz a little bit. I want to add some of that umami flavor. So I am spritzing here, and I am just using Worcestershire sauce and a little water, 50-50 mix. So I just got a little bit put on there, and yeah, that's what it's looking like. And we're going to get the lid put back on, and I'll bring you guys back in a bit. So gang, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here with this video and you want to see more just like it, then make sure you give us a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell so you get notified every time we upload a video just like this, and share it out to your friends. All right, enough talking about it. Let's get back into this cook. All right, so as I just said, we just passed that 4.5-hour mark, and I decided to spritz. Now, is spritzing necessary? Not always. You don't really have to. It's just a preference thing. For me, again, I've got Worcestershire and water, and I want to add that Worcestershire because it just brings that umami flavor and gives it just another element of flavor added to the end product. So that's why I do it. And also with the moisture onto your surface of your brisket, or in this case, the chuck roast, it helps to attract smoke even a little bit more. So that's why I use it. Again, you don't really have to. If you are going to use a spritz, you can use whatever you want, whatever liquid you want to. It doesn't have to be Worcestershire and water. It could be water. It could be apple cider vinegar and apple juice. It could be whatever you want. So again, we've got that on here. We're going to let it keep going here. I'll probably spritz it here every 45 minutes to an hour or so, probably for the next hour or two. So we'll probably spritz it twice before we move on to the next step. But that's what we got going on right now. So I'll bring you guys back in a little bit. All right, so we just hit our 6-hour mark here. We're going to get this lid pulled off and take a look. All right, as you can see, we are looking fantastic right here. And yeah, I'm really digging this. So now we're at that point where we want to get this thing nice and tender. So we're going to get it wrapped up in our butcher paper. So let me show you how we're going to do the butcher paper. All right, so here we've got our butcher paper onto our table here, and we're just basically going to take our spritz and we're going to spray it down. Now, what this is going to do is this going to make this paper, it's going to make it very pliable for us. All right, so now we don't have to worry about this paper trying to do its own thing when we're trying to get this thing all wrapped up. Now it's ready to take on our brisket or our chuck roast in this particular case. So let's get our chuck roast off and let's get it in here. All right, so here we've got our chuck roast. We're going to set it right there on our paper just like this. And now what I've got here is some beef tallow that we're going to actually get put onto this chuck roast while it's being wrapped up here. All right, so just like that, we've got a little beef tallow put onto our chuck roast. And I'm also going to put some more of this Lawry seasoning salt on here, just a little bit, and then we're going to wrap it up. All right, we're going to just fold this over, pull it back towards us, fold in the sides here. Get both sides tucked in, and then fold it back over. We're going to take this excess, fold it under like that, and now we've got our wrapped up chuck roast ready to go back on the grill. All right, back on the grill it goes, just like that. We'll get the lid put back on and let it keep doing its thing. All right, so our chuck roast is now wrapped up and back onto our kettle. And at this point, we're just going to let it get to the tenderness we're looking for. I'm not really looking for a temperature. I'm going to take my meat probe and we're just going to be checking for tenderness. Once we get to the tenderness that we're looking for, it'll be time to pull this chuck roast off, let it rest, and then we'll be able to slice it on the block. All right. All right. Bring you back in a bit. All right, guys, we are back here at the block. Now we got our chuck roast or our poor man's brisket off of the kettle, and we've allowed it to cool here. Now, all I did was, since I had you here last, was just I kept checking my tenderness on it. Again, I didn't want to bore you with coming back and checking tenderness, but that's all I did. I didn't care about temperature. Once it probe tender to my liking, I got the chuck roast off. I've allowed it to rest here. All in all, it took me about 7 to 7.5 hours to get that chuck roast to the tenderness I was looking for. Again, we've allowed it to rest here on the block. So let's check it out. All right, let's get this thing unwrapped here. Oh, it smells so good. All right. All right, guys, and here's our chuck roast. There you go. All right, so it smells really good here, but we're gonna go ahead and cut this right down the middle here. All right, and there we go. So that's what we're looking like on this chuck roast, and it's got a little bit of a smoke ring there. Not a whole lot, but it's got a little bit. And as I do with brisket, I always, whenever I cut it, leave it face down so that it doesn't oxidize too much. And then we're gonna work with this piece right here. We're gonna cut some of this here. All right, let's get a slice off of this. Let's see what we're working with here, guys. All right, there we go. There's our slice. Cut this down just a little bit more manageable piece for this bite. But hey, there we go right there. All right, let's go ahead and taste it. All right, cheers. Oh man. Mm, mm, mm. Folks, that is an absolutely fantastic tasting brisket alternative. If you're looking for something that's going to be cheaper than the cost of brisket is, nowadays, or you just want to level up your brisket game so that when you do buy a brisket, you make it count, this right here is absolutely the method to do. Get your practice on. And hey, the Central Texas flavors of salt and pepper bursting through on this. I mean, it's spot on the flavors. The consistency may be a slightly little different than brisket, but absolutely phenomenal tasting. And I'm sure you guys are going to love it. But hey, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more cooks just like this, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Peace.